Hello, and welcome to another episode of Glorious Life on Wheels. Those of you who've been following along with my channel know that I am going to be seeking a permanent residency visa in Panama. But you know what? I'm not alone. Literally tens of thousands, maybe millions of Americans are seeking to move out of the United States. There are a number of reasons, but among the seniors that I've been in contact with who are planning to move out of the United States, it's for economic reasons. They look at a future which is one that they'll be living in poverty, probably having to work the rest of their life without a break, and living a life that is so much less than they had hoped for. And then they look at the possibilities in other countries like Panama or Vietnam or Portugal, and they see where they can have a quality of life that is so much better on a budget they can afford, sometimes less than $1,000 a month even. In my last video, I shared some of my reasons that I'm going to be seeking permanent residency out of the United States. I'll leave a link to that in the comment section on this video. But I was really surprised. I guess I shouldn't have been, but I was surprised at how many comments people made saying that they were either planning to move or wish they could move. So in this video, I'm going to share the steps that you need to take. Now, I am not an expert by any means, and this is a learning process for me. I've been doing my research and I have some information, and I'll share the information that I have with you. But as I learn more and go through the process, I will do other videos to update you. But these are the steps that I have learned that are necessary and the requirements in order to move to Panama and get a permanent residency visa. So come on, and I'll tell you what I've learned. Before I get into the requirements for the visa that I'm applying for in Panama, I wanted to answer a question or a couple of questions that kept popping up about me leaving the United States and my tiny house, village, and all of that. I'm not planning on living full-time in Panama. I'm planning on staying there part of the year and part of the year in the United States. And that's why I like the visa program in Panama, because you can do that. You don't have to stay 6, 8, 12 months out of the year in order to maintain your visa status there. I am still pursuing my goal of establishing a small, affordable, tiny house community. That hasn't gone by the wayside because I'm applying for the visa in Panama. Okay, now that we have that straight, let's get started on the visa requirements. And I will be referring to my notes. There is more than one type of visa that you can apply for in Panama. There's the Friendly Nations visa, and there's the Golden visa, in addition to the one that I'm applying for. But I'm not going to really go into details on those two, because the buy-in for those is you have to invest anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 in the country of Panama. And that's just not practical for me or most of the people who will be watching my videos and who are considering moving to Panama as retirees. So I'm going to talk about the visa that is considered a retiree visa, because I believe most of the people who apply for it are seniors, and it's called the pensionata visa. Now, under this visa, you're not allowed to work in the country. So that is something you need to know up front. But again, if the people who are applying for it are mostly retirees, they're not planning on working anyhow. Now, the first requirement is you have to be 18 years of age. Now, that's kind of interesting because it's called a pensionata visa, a retiree visa, but the age requirement isn't like 60 or 65 or something. You just have to be over 18. So you actually could apply if you're 18 or older. But I guess most younger people don't because they're planning on still working. But the other requirement is you have to have a lifetime, and not something that's temporary, not interest or something, but you have to have a guaranteed lifetime income of a minimum of $1,000 a month. So many people on Social Security would qualify. You also have to have, oh, let me back up. It's $1,000 a month if it's one person, but if it's a couple, it's $1,250 a month. So it goes up by $250 per month for every person who's added onto the visa. Because some people might be going over there with a mate, a spouse, or their children. So again, $1,000 for the first person and $250 for each additional person in income in order to qualify for this visa. And I'll go over later how you verify and confirm those, and there's processes that you have to go through. You would need to get a letter from the agency about the income. For me, I have a pension, so I'm going to get a letter from the employer that issues my pension, and it needs to be notarized. Now, I'm not going to get into all the weeds on this because in talking to someone, I was told that it doesn't necessarily have to be notarized by the people issuing it, that you can do a secondary notarization by you signing something under penalty of perjury and getting that notarized. But I'm not going to go into all that because I don't really know all the details. As far as me, I'm going to have my employer notarize the letter that they send me so I don't have to go through all those extra steps. The next thing is you have to get a background check. Now, the background check is an FBI background check. They want to make sure that they're not allowing criminals or people with criminal histories into the country. Now, this background check has to be from an agency or an organization that is what's called a chandler. A chandler is someone who has been, or a company that has been authorized to provide this. Now, it's interesting because I just assumed, I thought, oh, well, I'll just go down to my local police department and have them pull my fingerprints. And even though they do fingerprints at police departments, they're not considered a chandler. So you can go there, maybe have them paid to be done, and then you'll get to Panama and your fingerprints will not be valid. So make sure when you get them done, you ask whoever's doing them, are they considered a chandler? And I called, I think it was LifeScan. It's either LifeScan, but there are also, this was kind of interesting. There are also places that I think there was like a UPS place that had a chandler, and there's other private companies that do fingerprints. So again, just make sure they are what's called a chandler. And you can get the ones that are on a card, or you can get them done digitally. I'm going to get it done digitally because my understanding is if you get it done that way, you can get it back in 2 or 3 or 4 days. But the other way, it could take weeks or maybe even months before you get it back. So I'm going to just do it I can't say this word, digitally. I'm going to do it online, okay? But they do it for you online, and then they get the copies and they provide them to you. But one thing about this, they can't be older than 6 months old. So they don't want you to get one that's a year old and in the meantime you've committed a crime. I'm planning to have my fingerprints be the last thing that I need to have authenticated done, because let's just say it takes 8 months to get the process done and your fingerprints were done 6 months prior. Well, by the time they go through the whole process, that could possibly mean that your fingerprints and your criminal background history is more than 6 months old, and so you could have to start all over again. So it's about timing, and you need to make sure that you're looking at what the requirements are and you're planning accordingly. All of this, again, has to be authenticated, but I'll go over that again before I end this video. The next thing that you need is you need a passport. Now, I'm not sure, I'll be honest, if you need a birth certificate or not. One place said you need your birth certificate, authorized, certified birth certificate. Somewhere else that I looked said you just need your passport. Well, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm getting both. I already have a certified copy of my birth certificate, and I will also have a valid passport. Now, as far as the passport has to have at least 6 months left on it. Again, with timing, I'm going to make sure that my passport has at least a year left on it. I just don't want to take any chances. These are the documents that you need to collect in the United States before you go to Panama. But before you leave the United States, you have to have them what is called apostilled. Now, apostilled means that from a valid agency, they have been determined and declared to be authentic and valid documents. Now, there are a number of ways that you can have your package apostilled. There are actually companies who have been authorized to do this and confirm their validity. Or my understanding is you can send them in as a package to the State Department. Or, and this is the option I'm going to choose, since there is a Panamanian consulate within a couple hours of my house, I'm going to make an appointment and take them in to the Panamanian consulate and have them apostilled there. Now, I recommend that when you do this, you are then almost ready to get on a plane within a very short time, a matter of weeks, to go to Panama. Because you have to actually be in Panama and submit them to an attorney in Panama. In addition to the documents that you have to get in the United States, there's also actions and steps that you have to take in Panama. You have to get a certificate of health from a Panamanian physician. Basically, they're looking to make sure you don't have any communicable diseases that you can pass on. So you have to get that done. You then take all of your documents and you have to bring them to an attorney. That attorney will then get all of those documents translated into Spanish. And again, it has to be by someone there who is authorized to do that. The attorney will then prepare all of your documents or put them all together after you have everything done and will submit them to the Panamanian government to be approved. Now, you have to, from my understanding, be in the country when this occurs. Now, this takes, I believe, about 1 to 2 weeks, and that is to get what's called your temporary visa. So your temporary visa, you also have to have a Panamanian address. Some people do that by giving an address for an Airbnb where they're staying or somewhere else, but that has to be the address that you have when you submit these documents. You will then get your temporary pensionata visa. At that point, you can leave the country. And that's one of the things that I really like about this visa. I don't have to stay there for 12 months or 11 months out of the year in order to get my permanent visa. Once you return to the United States, if that's what you choose to do, some people will just be staying there on their temporary visa. If you return to the United States, it takes, I'm told, anywhere from 6 to 8 months. You'll be notified by your attorney, and then you will go back and you will get your permanent visa. One thing I need to add, you want to make sure that whatever attorney handles submitting your documentation for your permanent visa, also provides or submits for what's called a cedula. A cedula is the Panamanian form of a permanent ID, and it's really important to have this for banking and other activities and business matters in Panama. It also, if I'm not mistaken, allows you to travel back and forth between certain countries with that cedula. But again, it's very important that you get that and make sure that's included in the package that the attorney is doing for you. So you will need to bring additional passport pictures for your cedula to be submitted at the time that your package is turned in. Now, the cost for attorneys varies, and it can be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 is what I'm being told right now. Now, a year or two ago, it used to be $800, but with the popularity of expats wanting to move to Panama, the prices, like everything else that becomes very popular, has gone up. And that's another reason why I'm doing it now, because I'm trying to cap my cost, and I don't want to end up having to pay $3,000 or $4,000 in attorney fees. Not every attorney is competent. Just like in the United States, there are incompetent attorneys and there are very good ones. So I'm going to be doing some research, and I'll share with you what attorney I use and how that turns out. I hope this has been helpful to any of you who are considering moving out of the country, particularly to Panama. But it has from my research, one of the easiest permanent visas that you can get. The process is pretty basic. It does take some work, but it's pretty basic. And most importantly, it happens pretty quickly. It's not years into the making, and you don't have to stay in the country. My understanding, now unless this changes, is that you have to only go back and forth between the United States and be in Panama for a short period once or twice within a 2-year period. I'll find out more about that. You don't have to stay there for extended periods of time in order to keep your visa valid once you receive it. Again, I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments if it has been. Love each and every one of you, and I'll keep you posted as I go through the process, and I'll bring you along with me. Till next time, see you Saturday on the live at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Bye-bye.